There was a time when you gave them everything. Your loyalty, your effort, your kindness. You showed up when no one else did, lent a hand when they struggled, and stood by them when the world turned its back. And yet, they never truly saw you. To them, you were just an afterthought, a convenience. They dismissed your worth like a flickering candle in a storm, assuming you would always be there, always waiting, always available. You tolerated the cold glances, the casual betrayals, the unspoken expectation that you would remain silent as they reaped the benefits of your presence while giving you nothing in return. They laughed when you hesitated, scoffed when you stumbled, and rolled their eyes when you tried to speak your truth. Your kindness, taken for granted. Your sacrifices, forgotten. Your presence, overlooked. But time has a way of shifting the tides, doesn't it? The ones who once ignored your worth now find themselves drowning in the emptiness of your absence. The hands that never reached out to you now grasp desperately at the air, hoping, praying, that you will return. But you won't. Because something changed. You realized the truth, the brutal, unrelenting truth. They never valued you because they never thought they had to. You were always there, always giving, always sacrificing. And as long as you remained at their feet, they saw no reason to lift their heads and acknowledge your worth. So, you did the one thing they never expected. You walked away. At first, they barely noticed. A smirk here, a whisper there, they'll be back, they told each other, arrogance dripping from their tongues. They always come back. But you didn't. And that's when the cracks started to show. Suddenly, the warmth of your presence was gone, replaced by an icy void they couldn't escape. The support they took for granted disappeared, and they found themselves floundering in the darkness, gasping for the air you once provided so freely. Their jokes weren't as funny anymore. Their victories felt hollow. The world they built, the one where they stood tall while you remained in the shadows, began to crumble beneath their feet. Because you weren't just another face in the crowd. You weren't just a replaceable piece in their selfish game. You were the foundation, the backbone, the silent force that held everything together. And without you, everything started to fall apart. Regret came knocking. At first, it was a whisper, a nagging thought in the back of their minds. They pushed it away, convinced they could manage without you. But as time stretched on, the whisper became a roar, an unbearable weight pressing down on them, suffocating them in the very emptiness they created. The same people who once belittled you, ignored you, treated you as if you were nothing, now? They desperately wish they had seen you for what you truly were. Because now they know. Now they understand. And there's nothing more terrifying than realizing you lost the one person who genuinely cared, the one person who would have stood by your side no matter what. But it's too late. Because you're not coming back. They thought they had all the time in the world. They thought you would always be there, waiting in the background, ready to pick up the pieces whenever they shattered. But the truth is, people don't stay where they are not valued. And you finally saw them for what they were. They weren't friends. They weren't family. They weren't your people. They were takers, leeches feeding off your kindness, your patience, your willingness to endure. And once you removed yourself from their grasp, they found themselves suffocating in the emptiness you left behind. At first, they didn't want to admit it. They laughed it off, pretending your absence meant nothing. They convinced themselves that someone else would take your place, that another person would step in and do everything you once did for them. But no one did. Because there was only one you. Days turned into weeks. The realization set in like a slow-moving poison. Their victories felt meaningless without your support. Their laughter sounded forced. Their celebrations felt hollow. The people they prioritized over you, they weren't there when things went wrong. They didn't stay when times got tough. And that's when it hit them. The only person who had ever truly been there for them, the one they pushed away, mocked, ignored, was gone. Regret is a bitter pill to swallow, isn't it? They replayed the past in their minds, over and over again, searching for the moment it all went wrong. But it wasn't just one moment. It was every moment. Every time they dismissed your kindness. Every time they brushed aside your pain. Every time they made you feel like you were nothing when in reality, you were everything. And now, they're left with the weight of their own choices. They try to reach out. A message here, a half-hearted apology there. But deep down, they know, No amount of words can undo what they've done. No apology can turn back time. You are gone. And you are thriving. Because the moment you walked away, you stepped into a world where you were valued, where your presence was appreciated, where your kindness was met with gratitude instead of expectation. You found people who saw your worth without you having to prove it. And those who never valued you, they're trapped in a prison of their own making, desperately wishing, hoping, begging for another chance. But you've moved on. Because you finally learned the most powerful lesson of all. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply knowing your worth. And never letting anyone take it for granted again.